The mark of the beast, it's already being developed and implemented right now. This ties in with all the scriptures. It ties in with the prophecies that they removed. It all goes hand in hand. The great deception that is upon the church. Yahusha said in the Gospels that if these days were not shortened, no flesh would survive. What's going to happen? The year 2024 is going to be insane with changes. And the reason I say that is people don't understand the full grasp of this AI and what's happening with it. AI is increasing at an exponential level. This means that AI is itself building more AI and then getting more intelligent. So they're getting to a point where it's going to be sentient intelligence. In other words, it's going to be standalone intelligence. Normal AI is simply an algorithm. It's a bunch of data points. It's a big set of information, and they use that pool of information, and they have different pools, and that's called data models, okay, which, by the way, is corrupted. But it doesn't make decisions on its own. It's given a set of instructions. However, what they're developing now is actual thinking, self-thinking AI, to put it in simple terms, which essentially means it makes its own decisions. Yahusha said in the Gospels that if these days were not shortened, no flesh would survive. No flesh would survive. There's so many reasons for that. Agenda 2030, look into it. There's 20 different sustainable ways they're going to save the earth. Every single one of them is designed to enslave humanity and to bring in the beast system. It's a complete deception network. They have already accomplished a huge part of their goals because the mark of the beast, it's already being developed and implemented right now. This ties in with all the scriptures. It ties in with the prophecies that they removed. It all goes hand in hand. The great deception that is upon the church, to where we only take a little bits and pieces of the New Testament. They take different pieces out of context, and they listen to the words of men and their elaborate stories and their fables, prosperity gospels, and they follow wolves in sheep's clothing. And that's a general majority of them. But there is rising up the truth, and the truth will set you free. But that truth is being hidden actively. As I was doing a tiny bit of research on these terms I just came across, it is not filled with the Spirit. It doesn't use the Spirit. It's of man's intelligence. And that gets me to what I was going to read today. This is in 1 Corinthians 18. I know very well how foolish it sounds to those who are lost when they hear that Yahusha died to save them. But we who are saved recognize this message as the very power of Elohim. For Elohim says, I will destroy all human plans of salvation, no matter how wise they seem to be, and ignore the best ideas of men, even the most brilliant of them. So what about these wise men, these scholars, these brilliant debaters of this world's great affairs? Well, Elohim has made them all look foolish and has shown their wisdom to be useless nonsense. For Elohim in his wisdom saw to it that the world would never find Elohim through human brilliance. So not through our own doings can we be saved, not of works, lest anyone should boast. And then he stepped in and saved all those who believed his message, which the world calls foolish and silly. It seems foolish to the Jews because they want a sign from heaven as proof that what is preached is true. And it is foolish to the nations because they believe only what agrees with their philosophy and seems wise to them. So when we preach about Christ dying to save them, the Jews are offended and the Gentiles say it's all nonsense. But Elohim has opened the eyes of those called to salvation, both the Jews and the nations, the Gentiles, to see that Christ is the mighty power of Elohim to save them. Christ himself is the center of Elohim's wise plan for their salvation. So this so-called foolish plan of Elohim is far wiser than the wisest plan of the wisest man. And Elohim, God in his weakness, Christ dying on that cross, is far stronger than any man. That is why not of works, lest anyone should boast. But notice among yourselves, dear brothers and sisters, that very few of you who follow Christ have big names, or power, or wealth. Instead, Elohim, God has deliberately chosen to use the ideas the world considers foolish and of little worth in order to shame those people considered by the world as wise and great. See, he uses it to shame the great. And that's why the great wise scholars, they can't comprehend these words because it's only spiritually understood. And he has chosen a plan despised by the world and counted as nothing at all. What? You believe that this guy, died on the cross and rose from you have eternal life? Foolishness. But he has used this to bring to nothing those the world considers great, so that no one, anywhere, in all of the heavens or the earth or anywhere, can ever brag in the presence of the Most High Elohim. See, it is grace we are saved through faith, not of ourselves, not of works, lest anyone should boast in his presence. And he takes the things which the world considers useless and foolish and people that aren't important. Let's use this on a personal level. People that the world considers not important because they don't have success, what the world considers success. They don't have power or wealth. None of the things the world or man considers important. What they have is the Spirit. He says that those are the ones who are truly rich. When Yahusha in Revelation says, I know your tribulation, poverty, but you are rich. See, he's referring to where we should be putting our treasures, where it counts, in heaven, where rust does not decay, thieves cannot break in and steal. It's secure. Yahusha has our eternity, our salvation with him. And when he comes, when we see him as he is, we will be made like him. And his reward is with him to give everyone according to their works. But I thought you said we don't get saved by works. Well, we don't. But what we do, our faith is shown by our works. Because if we truly believe and our mind starts transforming into our actions and we start taking in the words, and it's so important to have the words inflowing in us. We intake the words of the Creator, of the Most High Elohim. We make them a part of our very being, of every fiber of our being, to where every thought, every action we take is screened through, would the Most High accept this? Would this be righteous in his eyes? And if we do that, well, then we will be the most blessed and the richest anybody can be in his kingdom. Because how do we show we love him? Those who keep his commandments. And what is the greatest commandment? That we love one another, just as he loved us so much to die on that cross for our sins. But we have to be aware, and that's why he says, watch and be ready. You know, people, they like to divide religious and political things. And if someone who speaks of Elohim then starts talking about so-called political things, which simply means government, the two are hand in hand cross over, because the forces of evil and of wickedness, they most certainly use religion, their climate religion, their LGBT religion, abortion religion, the whole feminist religion. All of it comes down from the top. We don't fight against flesh and blood, but principalities and spiritual forces in high places and much power. Just like Gabriel had to fight with the prince of the power of Greece in order to give Daniel a message from the Most High, a prophecy about the end times. There are spiritual strongholds in each place geographically. And see, that's why different areas will have different sins and things that are prominent in the area. That leads me into what I'm talking about, the AI deception. This AI is absolutely insane how it's exploding exponentially, because now all these competing technologies, along with all the corporations out there, with all the wealth in the world, one company starts using AI, oh, guess we're gonna be left behind, which they will if they don't also implement AI. So it's an AI nightmare for human beings, which is coming. Elon Musk himself said so much. So this mark of the beast system, it's on its way. It's being developed right now. 90% of all countries on the earth are developing a CBDC, central bank digital currency. The premise behind this climate change is going to be the premise. Every nation on earth is saying climate change, an existential threat to life itself. They're making it as it's a huge emergency, and if something isn't done about it, life is going to die. So what are they doing? They're starving off huge populations by not allowing fertilizers to be used. They are aerosol injection spray, formerly known as the conspiracy theory chemtrails. Literally, they've been doing that for 20 years to try to darken the sun, to try to stop the sun's rays, because they know better than the Most High, the Creator. They got to balance the earth because they're so intelligent. Absolute sarcasm, of course. Interbody nanoparticle delivery system. There's already white papers published on this. Through graphene and through nanoparticle technology development, they're able to do transistors. You can put hundreds of them on the width of a hair. Okay, that's how small they are. So what they're doing is that's why they pushed for people to get 5 injections. Okay, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5. The point of all this, through this polyglycol liquid, it basically is a plasma that it's in its infancy stages now, but already they're able to track your heart rate, your blood type, hundreds of different things about your personal body. Emotional state, all that stuff. It's all designed. The point of this is they're going to be able to control you on a physiological level. That means your actual being. Biological, which is your flesh and blood. Your mental and your genetic. And they're going to use all this in a centralized computer base. It's not going to be centralized like you're thinking. You're like, oh, there's one system, then people will go and track it down and stop it. Well, that's the whole big deception. Because if you notice their papers, what they're saying is interoperability. All the different countries even though it's going to appear like they have different systems, it's all going to be interoperable with each other. And that's the whole key about it. This technology that they're trying to put in you, once they get so much of it in you, then they need a way to get that signal out. A bio tattoo in your right hand or in your forehead, and that will link all those nanoparticles to you individually. There'll be a serial number based on that, and that will send the signal out to the Internet of Things. Well, wait, that's not possible with today's technology. Terahertz technology is what those nanoparticles operate on. So a little voice in my head said, why don't you look into when they're set to develop terahertz technology? 2030. Agenda 2030, the New World Order, that's want to have everything rolled out by 2028. They want to have it in pockets of areas. In 2030, they want it worldwide. That, my good people, will be the mark of the beast. So we have about 6 years to develop a system. Once people understand this, there will be many there among us who will participate in this once they see the scope of how big this is. We need to develop an inter-community system to where when this happens, because the global, that means satanic because there's no such thing as a globe, the global elites are set to roll this out. In March, the WHO, all the countries of the earth, just about all of them, have agreed to a pandemic treaty. So the next pandemic that comes out, all the nations, everyone, not like it wasn't like it happened before, but even more so, nations will be bound by these international health laws, and it's, for the health of the global citizen. So certain national constitutions and laws won't matter. They go null and void. And Biden full-heartedly signed on to this. In fact, I think he signed his name twice. No, just kidding. This is kind of horrible news. That's why in Revelations it says, "Come out of her, my people," when referring to Babylon, the beast system, the great whore of the earth, which has corrupted all the kings and all the nations and all the people. The great men of the earth are in control of. By their sorceries were all nations deceived, and in her was found the blood of prophets and the blood of saints and the blood of all those that were slain on the earth. Wait a minute, how can one nation be responsible for all the blood, all the people slain on the earth? Well, as a whole, collectively, this whole system of the beast, starvation, of war, it is all generated from this one place. And that's the heart of the beast. And unfortunately, I think that's what we're living in. However, we have been given the words of truth and the words of righteousness and the words of goodness. And he has, in his words, he says, "Therefore I say to you, O nations that hear and understand, await your shepherd, for he who will come at the end of the age is close at hand. And all the nations will be jealous and envious of you, because as all these things are coming upon the earth, we are not terrified, because we are watching and we are ready and we are prepared. And like Proverbs says, we see the evil and we hide ourselves. Those who don't, they carry on and are punished." So he has given us a way to prepare, and through his wisdom, we can not only survive in these days, but we can thrive, because we literally know the future.